Dozens of Malian soldiers were arrested this week after what authorities called an attempt to destabilize institutions of the state. Among those detained are two-star names, General Abass Dembélé and Air Force Brigadier General Néma Sagara, moves that stunned the barracks and electrified social media. Supporters of Mali's government call it a necessary cleanup to protect sovereignty. Critics say it looks like a power play inside the ranks. What's undeniable is the timing. Months after political parties were dissolved and weeks after a new charter gave President Assimi Goïta a renewable 5-year mandate, security threats are still real and the information war is raging. In this episode, we are going to dive deep into what happened and who was arrested, how Mali's internal rift linked to the bigger sovereignty shift from France towards Russia and the AES alliance, and why this matters for West Africa's security map and for Pan-African self-determination. Let's break it down. On August 7, 2025, the storm broke silently over Bamako. Under the revolutionary government's watchful eyes, security forces launched a precise and lightning-fast operation, arresting dozens of military personnel suspected of high treason. While initial reports mentioned 20 arrests, inside sources hinted the number was closer to 50 as the dragnet widened, striking at the very heart of the old guard. The sweep began in Kati, the historic garrison town where General Abass Dembélé, a high-profile officer from a bygone era, was taken from his home. He wasn't alone. The operation also neutralized a cell that included Air Force Brigadier General Néma Sagara, another prominent figure, alongside other officers accused of plotting to violently derail Mali's sovereign path. Instantly, the information war exploded online. Across X and Facebook, patriotic African accounts celebrated the decisive action, quickly connecting the dots to a foreign-backed plot designed to punish Mali for its independence. TikTok was set ablaze with clips celebrating the Purge, backed by triumphant music and the flags of the Alliance of Sahel States. Of course, the usual chorus of dissenters pushed the tired narrative of an internal power struggle, but their voices were drowned out by a generation that refuses to see their revolution sabotaged. But as the digital dust settled, the real questions emerged. While the headlines focused on who was arrested, the deeper story is why these remnants of the old guard became so restless. To understand that, we have to look inside the army itself, at the clash between a new sovereign vision and the lingering shadows of a new colonial past. While Western analysts and media outlets rush to label this arrest as a sign of cracks within the military, those on the ground see it differently. For many Malians, this is not a crisis but a long overdue house cleaning. Every revolution must confront counter-revolutionary forces, and these often hide within the old structures of power. The so-called grumblings in the army were not about simple grievances. They represented a dangerous resistance to change. A key point of contention was reportedly the presence of Russian security partners from the African Corps. For patriotic Malian soldiers, these Russian allies are brothers in arms, providing crucial support in the fight against terrorism, where France failed for a decade. However, for a small fraction of officers, perhaps still mentally colonized and accustomed to the privileges of the French system, this new partnership was an unwelcome shift. The revolutionary government's move to detain this element is seen as a vital step to purify the armed forces, ensuring that every soldier is committed to the new sovereign Mali, not to the ghost of its new colonial past. This tension in the ranks is a direct reaction to Mali's revolutionary project, cutting ties with France and building a new security system for West Africa. To understand why this plot may have emerged now, we must look at the geopolitical chessboard. Since President Goïta's government took the courageous step to ending its military ties with France and welcoming Russian support, Mali has been in the crosshairs. The former colonial power, France, has not taken its loss of influence lightly. For years, French forces operated in Mali with little to show for it except a worsening security crisis. The moment Mali pivoted to Russia, a partner that offers military cooperation without political lectures, the tide began to turn, not just in the battlefield morale, but in national pride. This success is a direct threat to Western narrative that Africa cannot survive without its oversight. It's no coincidence that after President Goïta's high-profile meeting with President Putin, and as Russian flags became symbols of a new imperialist hope, a plot to destabilize the institutions will surface. Many observers in West Africa believe that the hands of frustrated Western intelligence agencies are never far from such schemes. This foil coup is not just an internal matter, it's a failed counter-attack in a much larger struggle for Africa's soul. This event in Mali doesn't just impact one nation, it sends a powerful signal to the entire Alliance of Sahel States. The leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, President Goïta, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and General Abdurrahman Chiani, formed this pact as a declaration of independence. They have stood together, creating a bloc of sovereign nations dedicated to mutual defense and shared prosperity, free from dictates of neocolonial bodies like ECOWAS. When they warned that an attack on one is an attack on all, it was a promise. The internal plot against Mali is therefore a test for the entire alliance. Burkina Faso and Niger are watching carefully, not with fear, but with vigilance. They understand that the same forces seeking to undermine Mali would gladly do the same in Ouagadougou and Niamey. This foiled plot will only strengthen their resolve. It will lead to deeper intelligence sharing, more coordinated internal security measures, and the hardening of their collective stance against outside interference. Instead of fracturing the alliance, this challenge has likely forged it in fire, proving that this new Pan-African fist is stronger and more united than its enemy ever imagined. To secure the revolution, the government has also made bold political moves that are often misunderstood in the West. In May 2025, it suspended political parties and later passed a new charter granting President Goïta a mandate to lead the country through this critical transition. Critics, often funded from abroad, call this authoritarian, but patriots call it necessary. For decades, Mali was played by a political class of corrupt Western-backed elite who played the game of democracy while the country burned. They held elections, gave speeches, and flew to Paris for instructions. All the while, jihadists advanced and the nation's resources were plundered. The revolutionary government rightly identified that you cannot build a new house on a rotten foundation. Dissolving these hollow political parties was not an attack on democracy. It was an attack on a failed system that served foreign interests. The new charter provides the leadership with the stability and time required to focus on real priorities: security, development, and the complete liberation of the nation. It's a pragmatic choice to put the survival and sovereignty of Mali above the performance of Western-style politics. The fight for Mali is also being waged online in the battle for the narrative. As news of the foil coup broke, a predictable wave of disinformation was unleashed. Western news outlets and their local collaborators immediately framed it as a sign of instability. But across TikTok, X, and Facebook, a powerful counter-narrative driven by Africa's youth took hold. Young Malians and Pan-Africanists celebrated the government's strength, sharing clips of President Goïta and praising the vigilance that protected the nation. They correctly identified the move not as a purge, but as a purification. This digital army understands that decolonization must also happen in the minds and on the airwaves. It's why the government's earlier decision to suspend French state media like RFI and France 24 was so popular. It was a move to reclaim Mali's information sovereignty. The skeptical comments you see are often from a vocal minority or anonymous accounts, echoing the talking point of falling neo-colonial powers. The overwhelming voice of the people from Bamako to the diaspora is one of resolute support for a leadership that is finally putting Mali first. In the end, what happened in Mali is more than a foiled plot. It's a glimpse into the future of a self-determined Africa. The revolutionary government in Bamako is providing a blueprint for how a nation can reclaim its destiny. It involves making difficult choices, purging disloyal elements, moving away from manipulative ex-colonial powers, building new alliances with partners like Russia who offer respect, and silencing the noise of a failed political system to focus on the real work of nation building. This path is not without risk, but it is a path of honor, courage, and true sovereignty. The Alliance of Sahel States is creating a new center of gravity in Africa, one built on the principle of African solution for African problems. While the West preaches democracy, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are showing that another way is possible, a future where African nations stand tall, secure in their strength, and clear in their purpose. This event has only hardened their resolve. The message from Bamako is clear. The era of puppet leadership is over. The dawn of revolutionary leadership has begun. This is Frontline Africa. If you value truth unfiltered and power reframed from an African perspective, subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I am Ezekiel Enejeta. See you in the next one.